What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Abdullah coming at you with another video of the DMVSportsZone channel. And today, guys, we are here with a special guest, D1 kicker Connor Madden. Connor, how you doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Good, good. First, I gotta say the name, awesome. Like having the last name Madden, like that's such a flex. But I
Appreciate
guess
it.
we'll start off with you. I mean, obviously you're a kicker at JMU. So my first question is because the kicker position is just so unique to talk about. Can you talk about your journey of becoming a kicker and eventually playing at James Madison?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I played soccer and basketball growing up. I never touched football. So I always like when I played soccer, I'd always take the goal kick, corner kicks, and whatnot. And then once I got probably to like 10th, 11th grade, my travel soccer coach kept trying to tell me like you should try out like football kicking because I could kick far. And I was kind of hesitant, didn't really try it. And then what happened is going into my senior year of high school, my travel soccer team disbanded, so I didn't have a team anymore. And it was kind of like in that middle like of the off season where it was like too late to join another team. You know what I mean? So I started to pick up football a little bit. I tried it a little bit after like soccer practices. I would bring like a football and kick it a little bit just to see how I could do. And like I wasn't great when I first started, obviously. It's a lot different of a technique. And then I just kind of kept with it for a little bit. I got like this, I kicked once with this coach Paul Woodside. And then ever since then, I've been working with this coach Desi Colin, who's pretty much got me to where I am today. First, because I actually went to a JMU specialist camp at the end of my junior year, like 3 months or 2 months after I had started kicking.
Hmm.
And I did all right for just starting, but obviously I hadn't played like a football season yet. So then going into senior year, since that was my only year, I didn't have much exposure, from colleges going because I didn't go to much camps. I hadn't played previously in years. And I did the extra points at South Lakes my senior year in 2018. I went 76 to 76. So we had like Spencer Alston, Albert Mensa, Devin Miles. We had like all the offensive weapons that year. They were scoring all the touchdowns. So I was getting all the extra points. We hardly kicked any field goals. I think I was like 2 of 3 that year. Um, and then I only had visits or like recruiting from like Division 3 schools, like few examples: Bridgewater College, Hampton Sydney, um, Barham. There's some D3s in New York and like Michigan and Minnesota that reached out to me too, but I don't know. That was just like way too far for me just to go play D3 football. So ultimately, I chose to go to Bridgewater College, Division 3, after my high school season, and so that's where I committed to go. And so my first year there, so actually, like the summer I was going to Bridgewater, like a few months before I got there, I was practicing out on the South Lakes field, just kicking field goals, and I felt a pop in my hip, and I just kind of went down in pain, and I tore my. So it turned out I had torn my hip labrum on my right kicking leg. So I didn't know this at the time though. I thought I just like kind of like I don't know pulled something. I'd never like been seriously hurt before. So I kept kicking on in the summer, just like icing it every day. And then when I got to Bridgewater, we kicked like 3 days in a row, and I couldn't even lift my leg anymore. So then I had to go like to the trainers, and eventually we like got an MRI and stuff, and found out that I had torn my labrum. And they said the surgeon, doctor guy, or whatever, the surgeon, he's a doctor. He's a doctor. You know what I mean? But he said that it was like the worst tear he'd ever seen in someone that wasn't from a car accident. So, and they
Damn.
told me they didn't know if I'd be able to kick again. So at that point, it was like, all right, like we'll just kind of do the rehab and see how it goes. Like I wasn't sure if I'd ever kick again or if I wanted to because I'd only done it for one season at this point. And so I just worked my way back because otherwise, like if I didn't do the rehab at Bridgewater, I would have had to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like go
Mhm.
to a PT and pay for it. So it just worked out that way. And then when I came back in the spring, because we have spring practice, I was kicking further than I ever had in my life. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should stick with it. Like, cause there was times, there's a lot of like injuries, like give you a lot of mental battles. So like, there's a lot
Yeah.
of ups and downs throughout the process. And there's a lot of times where I like debated being done and quitting, but I'm glad I ultimately stuck it out with that because that was like, I mean, that was only the beginning of my injuries too. Like that was not that bad compared to what I've had now. So like, I'll keep going with the story. You'll find out about it in a second. But so yeah, I started kicking the first I'd ever kicked, and then sophomore season, I played and did kickoffs at Bridgewater, and I won like the touchback percentage rating, I guess, in my conference. I think I was like double the next person. And then so I entered the portal in December 2019 after that year. And there had been like I had a Desi Cohen, my kicking coach I used back home. He's like my mentor, basically taught me everything I know. So he's a lot of connections with coaches, and he had a good relationship with Coach Kane, who's our special teams coach here at JMU, and so he got in contact with him about me because at that point JMU was hunting for a kickoff guy, and so I took a visit there like right before COVID hit, February 1st, 2020, and that was the day I like verbally committed. Like both my parents went here to JMU, and like I knew the
That's
area
awesome.
already, so I was like, man, like this is kind of just like it was actually between Virginia Tech and JMU. I
Damn.
hadn't like visited Tech yet,
Hmm.
but they were talking to Desi through or talking about me through Desi, and they had told him they would have wanted me to be like a backup to Brian Johnson, who you guys had at the time,
Yeah.
who's now in the NFL.
Play for the Commanders. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I kick with him sometimes too. He's a great guy.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to play right away, and it was like, man, like both my parents went to JMU, like I know the area, like it's kind of just set up like perfectly, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
was
No,
like, I went with that, and so then COVID hit, and so in that summer, that was like the summer I really like came up and started hitting like bigger kicks. I was like, I got like a weight set in my garage and stuff, and me and my boys would just work out every day. And that summer, I would hit a 70-yard field goal probably once a week, which was like nuts. And I hit my longest that summer was like 73, and I hit the
Wow.
crossbar twice from 75, which was nuts. And then once we got to school though, at JMU, we like couldn't like do anything, because of COVID restrictions, and our season got canceled. So then we had the spring season. And so going into my first season at JMU, I was the starting kickoff specialist. I had won the job in the fall ball. So we had like our spring ball in the fall because, COVID messed everything up. So it was kind of like flip flopped. And so it was weird because we started the season this spring. We started in like the middle of winter. It was like
Oh.
really cold February, So like that sucked, but like
Yeah.
it is what it is. And we dealt with it. So it's kind of like opposite. Usually you finish the end of season cold. This time
Hmm.
we finished the end of season warm, and like it was just so weird. That year was just so weird. Just because
Hmm.
all our meetings were on Zoom and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did okay that year. I had like a little groin thing before the season that kind of held me back a little bit. But towards the end of the season, I found my stroke, and I finished pretty well. I think I did like 57% touchbacks that year. Then going into the next season after COVID, unfortunately, I had torn my ACL. I was playing pickup basketball, something I should not have been doing
Oh,
at the
shit.
time. Yeah,
Mhm.
so if you're playing Division I football, just stick to that because I wasn't even playing like that. I was just jogging down the court after like about like 2 or 3 seconds after I passed the ball down the court. I was just jogging right, and this dude just comes out of nowhere. I don't know what he was doing, if he fell or what, but he dove like into the side of my knee
Oh, shit.
while it was like fully in contact with the ground. So, there was no way I was gonna like, like my whole body weight was planted in that leg. So
Just
that
pick
thing
up
just
basketball and you did that?
yeah, bro. Yeah. My knee bent the whole way inward. I had like my MCL, ACL, both meniscus and whatnot. So
Damn.
I'm like, it sucked because I had just earned like a partial scholarship because we're still FCS at the time.
Hmm.
And so I ended up, they let me keep the scholarship for that year. But then so I missed that whole season. I had that knee surgery done in June 21. And then 3 months later from that, I actually had a hip labrum on the same side also done. So I had kind of like gained like everything I ever wanted, right? I got like to my dream school, JMU. I got a partial scholarship, and then I just lost it all in the blink of an eye. So like that was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. Like it was the most humbling thing ever. Because I was actually playing through that spring season with a torn hip labrum in my plant leg. And so tearing the ACL and that also in my left leg just really put me down, like just set me. It was just a huge setback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because both surgeries, I just lost all my muscle. Um, I lost about 45 pounds, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. definitely the most like mentally hard thing I've gone through, but it made me mature so much. I'm so thankful I went through it. Like I've learned so much about myself. But yeah, like because of that and stuff I went through, I'm like a huge advocate for mental health and athletes and stuff. You know,
Mhm.
like I feel like the people who are strongest are the ones who communicate how they feel.
Mhm.
I just always want to put my support for people out there dealing with mental health issues because I had it myself. Now I'm back on top of it. But to go back to what I was talking about with the story, I had had the hip surgery in September 21, so that was 3 months apart, and then 4 months after that, in January, I accidentally slammed my finger in a door. So you see right here, I accidentally cut
Oh,
off the tip of my middle finger.
dude.
So that was another thing. It was just one thing after another. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just the problems kept rolling, and so I had to kick in spring ball that year with like my finger taped up after having like the operations on it because like they had tried to attach like the tip of it back on and then it turned like all black and they had to take it back off. Like it was a whole thing. It went on for months. Um, but I just dealt with it. Then I ended up tearing my groin the last week of spring ball again. So that this is like spring what 22, and then I tore my groin again in the summer.
Damn, man.
4th of July. So like I had the worst like luck with back to back to back to back
Mhm.
crazy like incidences and accidents of like tearing something or whatever. And then it came to like right before the season. Uh like I didn't even participate in any part of training camp going into the 2022 season. I was out the whole time. And then like 2 days before I think 2 days, 3 days before our first game, it was Wednesday before the game day on Saturday. We were playing Middle Tennessee, and I was just like, all right, like I'm just good. I have to be able to like kick this game. I can't like miss this. Like I've been waiting for this moment for so long, like 1.5 years. Like I went through all the hell I could have possibly went through. Like I have to play, and so I just went out. I hadn't even kicked like a field goal yet. Usually you go back to kicking field goals before you hit a full step kickoff. But I just like used all like my quad, tried to not use any of my groin, and I hit two of them before practice in the end zone. I was like, okay, I felt all right. All right, let's see if I can do it. Did it in practice, hit it in front of the coaches, and then they're like, all right, you're playing. So played the first half, the first game. We were whooping them, so we did. I let the backup kicker take over the second half. Did that in the second game too, and then I played the rest of the season. I ended up finishing, I think about like 61% on touchbacks, which is like a career high for me.
Mm.
And I think I was third in the Sun Belt in my conference. And so
Awesome.
like it's not the best, it's not the worst, but for me going through all the stuff I went through, in that span of time, just like I couldn't be happier to have done that well with all like the crap I was dealing with at the same time. And after spring ball, I stayed healthy through all of spring ball, and I actually earned I'm now on a full scholarship, so I earned my
Awesome.
full scholarship back. So now I've gone like full circle from earning it to losing everything to getting it back. So like it just like I'm just so thankful that I'm in this position. I was given they like gave me the opportunity to earn it back and prove to them I can still do this because like there's times when I was hurt, man, where like you're down the dumps like when you haven't seen yourself like play the sport in a while, you're like, man, like, can I even do this anymore? Like, you've been
Yeah.
doing rehab for so long. So like
Mm.
just to be able to go from the bottom to like back to the top where I was, because this past like I hadn't even tried, but I hadn't tried to do a 70-yard field goal since like COVID. And then randomly this past, I don't know if you saw this, but I had a field goal that went
Yeah,
like
that
five
was
on
that.
the
That was gonna be one of my
juice.
questions. Actually, I was about to ask
Yeah,
you about
yeah.
that.
I don't like I sent it to Juice, but I don't think I didn't send it to any of the other
It was the check
there's
down. Hmm.
yeah, there's a few other ones that posted it. I can't remember. Yeah, I didn't send it to him, but it was like I would wake up one morning and like another account would post it. I'd be like, well, cool, I guess, like whatever. But yeah, so it just like it was really cool to just like looking back on it now to see that like I was able to get it all back and after all that crazy stuff. So like and that was a long story I just gave, so you can cut that up
No,
however
no,
you
no.
want. But
Yeah.
like I was trying to give the full story, man, because it was just so like back and forth, up and down, just so
Hmm.
crazy.
No, we salute you, bro. I mean, obviously, like majority of athletes, even just one injury, they just say, "Oh, like, is it even worth it?" Like when they're practicing and stuff. So the mental battle that you had to face, man, like it's crazy because a lot of people
Yeah,
online, like I even saw Destroying, he commented on it. I'm like, damn, but people don't know that you went through all of that just to go viral. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that kick, like that was like the end of the session, and I just been crushing the ball that day, so we were just like, let's just see if I can get close with this, and like that was the only one we did like that. Like the full video is like you could see I'm setting up the camera and stuff, and then like we set it up, and then I hit it and drilled it, and like obviously I cut the video to send it to him, but like yeah, it was just so surreal.
Nah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, dude, again, that's a crazy journey, bro. Honestly, you could be on like that's you could write a book about that, bro. Like that's
I
crazy.
thought about it, man, because
Yeah,
like I don't
dude.
know. I used to meet with like the sports psychologists we have here on campus like
Mhm,
every week because when I was in those downtimes, man.
mhm,
But he was telling me like I've been through a lot and like I'm one of the strongest people he's seen like mentally be able to come back like and not like give up. So that was something really like really I was really honored to hear from someone who's like been in that field for as long as he has.
mhm,
I don't know, my thing in my head is just like if you quit, you lose. Like just
mhm,
don't quit because once you quit, you lose. That's the end of it.
mhm.
And those
Yeah,
who last the longest out there just don't quit.
mhm. Yeah,
So that's what I
yeah.
kept trying to tell myself.
That's good, man. That's a good motto to have. And you talked about it, JMU. That's my next question. And for those of you
Hmm.
that didn't watch last season, living under a rock, they were part of history. First time in school history, ranked in the AP top 25. And I gotta ask, what was it like being a part of that team, ranked and like just being part of history?
It was crazy, man, because like just because I came from Division 3 football, like starting off, like coming from there, then we were FCS, and now we're FBS. So like I've had the experience of playing like the lowest division of NCAA, and then like FCS, and then now the highest division in FBS. And just like I always think back to the App State game because we were down 28-3 at
Mm,
halftime, and nothing was going right. They were torching us on the pass, and there's just nothing we could do. And then we go into halftime, and like we run off the field, and like their fans are just saying whatever they wanted to us. Like they're kicking our ass,
mm-hmm,
and then we come back out after halftime. I wasn't like the kickers. We come out earlier, before or so we don't hear like the halftime speech our coach gives. But I assume Coach Signetti gave some crazy kind of speech in there because when we came out for the second half, it was just a different mode. And we started to come back in that fourth quarter. Like I still can't believe it when I think back to it and I watch those highlights just because how crazy and like it was so loud in that stadium, dude.
mm-hmm.
It was a great atmosphere there down there in Boone. They've got a great stadium, great fans, and it was just really loud. But then we came back at the end and we took the lead, and then it was just so surreal because like there was just no scenario where we were supposed to win that game, but we came
Yeah.
back and won the game. And like Jalen Walker got that pick and took it down to the three, and then we were able to score from that. And then Q Reed on the final hit of the game because they were on fourth down, I think fourth down and 8 about, and they threw I think it was like button hook route the receiver ran or something across the middle, and
Mm-hmm.
Q Reed, our safety number one, just comes down on him and just crushes the dude. Like the dude like had trouble getting up, and like the ball just went flying, and we all went like, can I curse
Nuts.
on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
We
ahead.
went nuts, dude. Like everyone went crazy. We were jumping on the sideline, like screaming whatever, just saying whatever we wanted to the fans. Now, because we got
I
the
don't
ball
blame you.
back,
You
and
just
that was
came
it.
back. You
Like,
just came back down 20. You're the away team.
yeah,
You gotta go crazy.
dude, we came off the field, and the fans just weren't saying anything to us, but they were saying whatever they wanted at halftime. So it just felt pretty good.
No,
But
that's
yeah, that
awesome.
was definitely the craziest thing I've been a part of on the winning side.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I think the week after that is when we were ranked 25 and went to play at Georgia Southern.
Mm-hmm.
I might be missing a week in there. I can't remember, but we went to play Georgia Southern down there, and that's the week we were ranked 25. And they had a great atmosphere down there too. Their fans were really loud. I would say out of all this places we played at last season, Georgia Southern's fans were the best trash talkers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it loud in there. And that was a back and forth game. We had a punt blocked in our own end zone. They recovered. It was just back and forth in the fourth quarter. Like if you go and we'll look up those highlights on YouTube, it was just back and forth to the final minute. And they ended up beating us. We came back and scored with 2 minutes left. And then I think they went down and scored. And then we had to get the ball back. And then we were in their territory, I think around like the 30 or 25, or maybe 40. I can't remember exactly. But then we threw a pick and that was the end of it. But
Mm-hmm.
like I can't remember it as well as the App State game, but it was just so back and forth and just such a crazy ending. And their fans were, it was just so loud in there, like you couldn't like hear much.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a good atmosphere there. They were really loud. And that's what we need. Like at
Mm-hmm.
JMU, man, like in the past, we've been in the FCS, so we've been beating teams pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So fans, like our student section and all that, they like we don't have a. I'm not gonna say we don't have a good culture, but like a lot of our students, they'll leave early from the games, leave at
Mm-hmm.
halftime. So now like we need people to stay at the games because now they're gonna be a lot closer because we have better competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that'll change so we can get that atmosphere too. Because we have like if we have that and get all our fans, because I know our fans are passionate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They we just needed to stay the whole game, and then I think it'd be a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But
I going back to the top 25, like, did you guys know that you guys were gonna be up there? Because a lot of my friends, they're like, bro, like we're beating them. Like, why aren't we ranked yet? Like, like, how did you find out? Like, oh shoot, we're up there.
well, I don't remember how I found I think like it came up on my phone, like
Mm-hmm.
the new polls like on ESPN, and it said like James Madison ranked 25, and I kind of was like, what?
The
Because
group chat probably was going crazy.
we didn't really expect it,
Mm-hmm.
but we thought it might come soon. Um, but I will say, looking back on it, I wish we didn't get 25 because then like because we were just going around as like the underdogs, and then like
Yeah,
when they ranked us, I feel like it kind of changed a little
yeah,
bit,
the dynamic. Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know, just change the whole vibe. I feel like we would have been better if we were still unranked, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
No, no, I feel you. I feel you. So going back, you talked about JMU, talked about being a kicker, and more specifically, what I want to ask is how do you build and maintain mental fortitude as a kicker? Because like that's like when you're kicking off, it's just like all eyes on you. If you mess up, like
Hmm.
what to like how do you like battle that type of, stress?
So at this point for kickoffs for me, I've been doing it long enough. Like usually I don't get very nervous anymore, but I try to. Like I like feeling the adrenaline.
Mm.
Like when there's more fans and it's really loud, that'll get me going. You know what I mean? But like I rip the smelling salt before every kickoff I do.
Mm.
I rip the smelling salts and kind of like hype myself up, and I just like to make myself as nervous as possible. That way I can hit the ball as far as I can. Because at this point, to me, like kickoffs feel like I'm riding a bike. Like sometimes every now and then I'm definitely gonna have a miss hit. Like no one's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'm not. I'm usually not so nervous where like I can go out there and mess up because I'm that nervous. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But I'd say like if I were to go out because it's only because I've been doing kickoffs so long in game. So like once you become more comfortable with doing something in a game, it becomes way easier. But like those first few times, like say like I were to kick field goals, like I haven't kicked field goals in a game since 2017, my high school senior season. So like I would probably be a lot more nervous to go
Oh
out for a
yeah.
field goal than I would a kickoff. You know what I mean? Because it's been a long time since I've like been regularly doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense, like
Yeah.
same thing with like punting. If I were to go out and punt for like do one punt in a game, like I would be pissing myself.
I got you. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Going back to I guess the more kicker stereotypes, like everyone wants to know. Even my friend, he part of the channel Noah, he played D1 football at William and Mary. He wanted me to ask this as a joke because obviously it's like a rhetorical question. Do kickers really practice, or are they just there on game days just to kick it and then that's their job?
Okay. The people that say we don't practice are like, man, they don't. Okay. So listen to this. Just think about this. Wide receivers, right? What do? They run routes, catch the ball. Okay, so that's what they spend their time doing. They practice change of direction, cutting, catching, like all this stuff. They have way more obviously it has way more physical, a way more physical workload than kicking does. So why would we go out there and run and do these sprints when the only running we do is on and off the field after and before we kick? You know what I mean? So we'll spend our time during practice on the sidelines doing like little drills because like kicking is so precise and it's all about the timing and stuff with all that. So like we'll do little drills, just to build up our technique. So we do stuff. I will say we do stuff. It's just not running. So it's not as much as like, wide receiver or running back or any other position usually would do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're always off to the side. It's kind of like our own little thing. Like the kickers, like the specialists, we're like I feel like we're kind of like our own little fraternity than the football team. Because
Mm-hmm.
we're always like doing our own thing. But it's because it's just like a different position, it's really unique compared to like because football's just different. It's got like 300-pound guys and
Oh
there's some
yeah.
like 150-pound kickers out there. So it's just like you can have someone of all sizes,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was like that one meme where it was like football is an amazing sport because you got like guys like DK Metcalf and
Yeah.
Rodrigo, the guy from with the goggles.
Blankenship. Yeah,
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 yeah.
Blankenship. Yeah, yeah. So it's like you can have those two just going at it.
Exactly.
No, I
Exactly.
agree. I agree. Before we're out, I want for you to plug in your social media, or just anything you want, just so
Oh
people
yeah.
can find you.
So I actually want to shout this out real quick. So if anyone's listening to this who is trying to get into kicking or anything like that, you can look up my socials. On Instagram, I've got Golden Toe Kicking. Golden Toe is kind of in like my nickname. From Bridgewater to JMU, it's kind of traveled with me where I've gone, so that's why I'm using that name. Um, so I've got that on Instagram and Twitter. I've started coaching some high school guys, getting them a lot better. One of my guys, a few months ago, or maybe it was last fall, he got a full ride offer to Virginia State University Division II.
Awesome.
That was awesome. I was really happy for him. So like I've been getting into it now, trying to coach a little bit. So if there's anyone who wants to give it a try, just give me a DM, shoot me a text, and I'm more than happy to help anyone who wants to get into kicking. But
Mhm.
yeah, all my socials are all Madden 42. Um, I use all Madden just because it's my last name and it's from the game Madden. So
Of course.
yeah.
Iconic. Yeah, but thanks again, Connor, and we wish you luck on your future endeavors. Go Dukes, man. They're gonna be exciting to
Yes,
watch.
sir.
I'm telling you, you're gonna see this guy on ESPN just booming, first kick. But with that being said, guys, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel where I like to push out as much fire content out there as possible. Follow us on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at DMV Sports Zone. And we're out. Peace.